Good evening, a very warm welcome to the Pedal Power Election Forum. I'm Genevieve Jacobs from 666 ABC Canberra, where I present the morning's program, and that does mean in this city that not infrequently we get to talk about cycling and health and transport and physical activity and all kinds of themes and ideas that might well bubble up here this evening as we consider what we need to do to be the cycling capital of Australasia. Australasia, mind you, trans-Tasman domination is definitely in the mix this evening. Canberrans, of course, love their bikes, and we are without doubt in the midst of a transport revolution of one kind or another as we grapple with things like congestion, urban densification, productivity, changing lifestyles, and even bike tourism. You're going to hear more shortly about how this will all work. It's a fairly tightly planned event, so we can get as much good, nuggety, useful information out of the evening as possible. So I'd like first to introduce you to Pedal Power's Executive Officer, John Armstrong.
Thank you, Genevieve. Thank you very much for playing the role of moderator here today. We need an independent such as Genevieve to be able to do exactly that. So a massive thank you there. So I thought we would just spend 5 minutes just setting the scene a little bit and saying, well, what is it that we've got to do to actually be the best city that we can be in Australasia? And I would even go so far as to be even stronger than that. And I think we've got the great opportunity to be able to do that. So the election forum has provided a great venue and a great opportunity. At every election, Pedal Power ACT has hosted this forum. And it has proven to be a very popular one. So once again, thank you very much for your participation here today. When we spoke to the politicians prior to, we said, guys, you need to be sharp here today. You need to be a 5-minute spiel. That's all we're doing. So there's it's an anti-waffle zone. So we've got to be pretty sharp on that. And I think Genevieve will keep them on the toes. Well, we said, okay, let's focus this down onto 3 core, we think are really key areas. The participation, people on bikes, what that looks like, what we've got to do to make that better, the infrastructure, and importantly the leadership, which I think means you get good leadership and the other 2 can effectively follow. So let's have a little bit of a précis. Let's talk about what's been good, what's worked in this participation zone. We boast of having great cycle paths, shared paths around the ACT. We boast about the highest level of participation of any state. I think Alice Springs beats us in terms of a city population, but in terms of one of the majors, we're right up there. We've got some pretty good right to work. Well, it's not pretty good actually. It's actually pretty ordinary, but it's the best in Australia. Okay, 2.8% of people ride to and from work. We've got increasing participation, but unfortunately that's just increasing participation in line with population growth. So we're actually just holding our own. We're just doing now, and what are we? The pollies for the last 4 to 6 years have extolled the virtues of how we are going to get to 6% of population. 6% of the population will be riding their bikes to and from work. That's been the target, and that is incredibly admirable. What's not so good around this participation stuff? Tell you what, women are a great barometer of when the infrastructure is really good. And we are at 25% of women are participating in that major element of people riding their bikes. The only stat that we don't excel at, when compared to the rest of the states, is the 0 to 10 participation rate. We have fallen behind the national average. It's great alarm bells. We've got to do something about that if we are genuine about seeking to be the cycling capital of Australasia. Right now, we're not there. The Chief Health Officer's report has showed increased incidence of accidents. We've got to do something about that. We've got to provide some effective infrastructure. And there has been no commitment by any of the parties in any area around cycle tourism. So the participation stuff isn't all that good. Around the infrastructure, what have we got? We've got increased funding in cycling participation in cycling infrastructure over the past 3 years. That's fantastic. Over the last, fairly recently, just opened, in fact, on the weekend, a plaque to Paul Truebridge, who was a great pedal power advocate and a great person who has assisted in the enabling of the cycleway that is an off-road cycleway adjacent to the Madeira Road redevelopment. We've got that. We've got the civic cycle, I was going to say civic cycle loop. We've got the civic cycle horseshoe. It was initially the civic cycle loop, and it was a great concept, and that was really good, and we've nearly got it. And to tell you what, in terms of quality infrastructure, it's not bad. It's just a horseshoe, not a loop. So we haven't quite got there yet. And part of that, the Bundy Street Shareway, that's proven to be, I think, a really effective tool. So what are some of the things that aren't quite working in this area? Well, we've certainly got a massive repair budget. We seriously haven't worked as hard as we need in order to encourage the higher level of perception of safety for people who want to ride their bikes, women, kids. We need separated and segregated cycling infrastructure. Have we got a cycling network, or have we got a cycling jigsaw? Have we got to join the dots, or have we got a network? I'm not sure that we've actually got a network. We've got town centres where planning has been done. It's been fantastic. And what happened at the last election? We didn't quite get the dollars for that, and there wasn't even an iota of talk around the redevelopment of Belconnen infrastructure. We've got the Stromlo Forest Master Plan that was handed down amidst very ordinary consultation. That has pushed some of the cycling competitive elements right out of the zone. That has become cycling central in the ACT. So in leadership, what's been the real positive? What's been the good around that? We've certainly had the Vulnerable Road User Inquiry over the last number of years, and that has extolled a number of items that have needed to be addressed, and in fact there have been some very, very good recommendations that have come out of that. There has been an initiation of a thing called the Active Travel Office. The office, the place where we can combine, the theory says, that we can look at the opportunity to work across silos within the government. A really important step. Implemented effectively could be one of the most crucial elements to ensuring that we get there. We've had the introduction of a number of items around road rules. We've had the overtaking distance, 1 metre and the 1.5 metre. We've had the pedestrian crossing overtaking, and of course we've had just recently the learner driver competencies that have been identified in there. These are all things that have come out of the Vulnerable Road User Inquiry. What's the stuff that hasn't quite worked that well? We've had incompletion of tasks. We've had the Vulnerable Road User Inquiry, and we've had recommendations that should have been implemented in March 2015, and it is September 2016, and we're still firing. The resources haven't been implemented. The civic cycle loop hasn't been the loop, it's been the horseshoe, and it's been off the agenda. The Belconnen Town Centre has been left. The Active Travel Office, despite the very good people that are there, has been identified at a level that might not be able to work across all those areas of government. There is no coherent statement of leadership from any of the leaders, and we need that. If we are serious, if we are genuine about becoming the cycling capital of Australasia, we need that. We asked the leaders to come here, and we've got some able representatives here, and that is, thank you, we really appreciate it. But this is the very first forum within the Pedal Power Forum where the leaders haven't turned up. So what does it take to become the cycling capital of Australasia? Well, in the Netherlands, and a recent thing just last Thursday evening, a launch of the National Capital Tour, we had the Netherlands Embassy talking about 50% of children ride to and from. 63% of people use the bike in some way, either travelling to work or travelling in between meetings for their work. That is an astronomical figure. We are nowhere near that. 2.8%, I think, in the ACT. 2.8. We need to make the town centres attractive for people, not just to get there, but whilst you're in there, and actually not form a moat around the place so that you can't get in there. We need to provide cycling education and training for the schools. throughout the ACT. We need to generate cycle tourism. We need to provide good, effective, separated infrastructure. What does the cycle tourism implement? It implements all those items up there. This could be the strongest, biggest economic thrust for any ACT government here in the ACT. We've got the bones, we just haven't built the muscle around this. We need to be better than Melbourne, New Zealand, Brisbane. We can't just rest on our laurels here in the ACT. We simply can't be complacent. We need to make clear statements about the importance of cycling here in the ACT. We need to recognise all the contributors that are there. Everybody talks about how good a business sense it makes to have quality cycling infrastructure. We need bike racks, we need share schemes, we need airport-friendly stuff, we need intra-trip facilities, we need links to the recreational mountain bike area. We need all of these items if we are serious about our development in the ACT in terms of cycling. So, what does leadership look like? Well, I'll let you make the judgment about what leadership looks like in the ACT. You're about to embark on that and make decisions. But there are some quotes from some prominent people